Peace, Israel. This lesson, the title of this lesson is Devils. I say again, the title of this lesson is Devils. Many of us use the term devils. We've heard some of these guys on YouTube saying you're the devil the Bible speaks of, the devil this, the devil that, the devil is in you, a whole bunch of nonsense. You also hear from the elders of Israel, the older people. You hear people say, oh, the devil is a liar, etc., etc. They have no idea what this devil is because they've never read this book. And if they have, they certainly don't understand it. So let's go ahead and start with the favorite passage, or the best passage I feel that kind of links you to this law. Once again, thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Once again, if you want to know something is true or false, put it up against the law. You must know this law and follow it. Study it, follow it, adhere to it, and things become clear unto you. All right. Grab your books. You know how we do it. All right. This channel is called Slapping You with the Truth. If you listen to what I've been teaching you thus far, you know the truth is the law. So I'm busting you upside your head with this law, with this truth. So I'm smacking you with the truth. So tighten up your jaws. Don't turn to the left or the right. You might get hit in the mouth. All right, let's get started. Deuteronomy 32, verse 17. That's the first place we're going to start so we can find out exactly who and what are devils according to the Most High and the greatest of his prophets, Moshe. Okay, so let's go. Deuteronomy 32, verse 17. And it reads, they is Israel. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods, idols, whom they knew not, to new gods, idols, that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. We need not fear any idols, because idols cannot breathe, eat, taste, smell, see, and idols certainly can't save anyone. So there was no fear for Israel to be fearful of idols, because we knew idols were not alive. These are graven images. These are things people made up. Okay? False gods newly raised up. And we made sacrifices onto these vanities, these things that were worthless, that were of emptiness, that had no value to us. Okay? Now let's go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 36. Deuteronomy 28, verse 36. You want to know if you're Israel or who Israel is, read all of Deuteronomy chapter 28. And if these curses fall upon you and your people, then you are of the house of Israel. All right, Deuteronomy 28. We're going to go to verse 36. Verse 36 read, the Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other idols, gods, wood and stone. As we look into these nations, we see this idol made of wood, made of stone, made of ivory, made of silver, and made of gold. It is an idol. Okay? Excuse me. Now let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Still staying 28. Let's go to Deuteronomy 64. Deuteronomy 28, chapter 28, verse 64. And it reads, and Yah shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other idols, gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So here we are in one of the many nations we have been scattered in, worshiping idols. That's what you've got. Israel in one of the many nations. America is but one of them. Okay? There are many other nations you can find Israelites at the bottom of the barrel under all these curses in Deuteronomy 28. And they're serving woods and stone and whatever else. Okay? These are devils. All right, now let's jump to Jeremiah 16. Jeremiah 16 and verse 30. Jeremiah 16 verse 13. Go to that. Jeremiah 16 verse 13. All right. Jeremiah 16 verse 13. And it reads, Therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land that ye know not, neither ye nor your fathers, and there shall ye serve other idols, gods, day and night, where I will show you no favor. So if you're the house of Israel and you're in these many lands serving these idols, you don't know it, and you find yourself praying to these idols for however many 100 years we've been in captivity, and you see that our circumstances have not changed, the Most High said he will show us no favors. And he certainly has kept to that, because we are not showing any favors. Okay? Because we are serving idols, or 9 out of 10 of us. All right, let's go to Psalms 106. This is going to be a very short lesson, so we can cover devils. Psalms 106. Psalms 106, we're going to go at verse 35. Psalms 106, verse 35. And it reads, But they were mingled among the heathen, and learned their works, or their ways. They were mingled among the heathens. They is the house of Israel. All a heathen is other nations. If someone call you a heathen, okay, a matter of fact, no one can call you a heathen unless he's of the house of Israel. So there are many Israelites who don't even understand what a heathen is, will look at another Israelite and call him, oh, you heathen, for not believing or going to church and worshiping an idol. What he has no understanding is that, number one, he's in idolatry, and two, he doesn't understand that heathens and nations is the same thing. A heathen is someone of a nation other than the house of Israel. That's what a heathen is. Okay? So we were mingled among the heathens. To be mingled means to be mixed. We're sleeping with them, having kids with them, eating what they eat, going where they go, doing what they do, and believing in what they believe. That's being mingled. We were not to do this. Okay? So we got mingled with them and started doing the things that's nothing but a snare unto us. Let's go to verse 36. And they served their idols. So we're in these nations and we're serving their gods, lowercase. Okay? We're serving their idols. We're in these many nations serving these idols. Yea, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils. That is verse 37. Let me read that again from the top. Let's go back to 35. Okay? But were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. Mingled among the heathens, that's Israel. That's mingled among the nations. That's what heathen means. Verse 36. And they served their gods. We serve the gods of these nations, which are idols, which were a snare unto them. Okay? That's verse 36. So when we serve these idols, it's going to be a snare unto us. We're not to do this. It's a trap. Because once we're serving idols, we can't get out. We're going to be in captivity. So what we're to do is we're to reference Deuteronomy 30. And we're to return to the laws of the Most High. But we're not to serve the gods of our enemies or the gods of these nations, because the gods of these many nations that we're scattered in, they are every last one of them idols. They're all devils. Okay, they are vanity. They are emptiness. They are false. All right, now let's go to verse 37. Yea, They sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils. That's what the house of Israel did. We sacrificed our sons and daughters onto these idols, onto these make-believe gods that were newly raised up, whom our fathers knew not and feared not. Okay? So keep that in mind. All right? Now let's go to verse 38. And shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. So what we have done, we have got into the land of Canaan and made all types of sacrifices using our very own children onto onto Moloch and all the other strange gods, strange idols, that we were not to do this thing. Now, we're in all these different lands. We're doing the same thing. Okay? We're doing the same thing. We're worshiping the idols of these nations that we've been scattered into. These are idols. These are devils, false gods, newly raised up. So now the house of Israel in the English nations, or the English-speaking nations where we have been scattered, now we take our children and we still turn them over to the devil. Okay, we still turn them over to the idol. Oh, my baby's just been born. We're having a christening. We're having a christening. Really? You're taking your baby and you're handing it over to devils. That's what you're doing. Because clearly, the gods of the nations that Israel has been scattered to, these are gods that are idols. They are devils. They are false. Okay? So you need to watch this. Oh, I'm going to christen. We're going to have a christening with my baby. We're going to go to the church. It's a christening, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go get baptized and dip in this water, etc. You can't find baptism in here. Read Deuteronomy 30 and let me know where the Most High said in order for Israel to get back to him, we needed to be baptized. Or we need to christen our children. Okay? It's the same nonsense that we have always done. It is idolatry. And you need to be mindful of that thing. All right. So let me see. Where were we? All right. So we've read Psalms 106. Let's go ahead and back up and let's go to Psalms 96. And we're going to read verse 4 and 5. Psalms 96. Okay. And we will read verse 4 and 5. And it reads, For Yah is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all idols. Okay, above all gods. Because the gods of these nations, every last one of them, where we have been scattered into, they are all idols. From America to Britain to Spain, all of them. If they're not the God of the Hebrews, if they're not the God of Israel, if they're not the strong one of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it's an idol. That simple. Okay? Now let's go to verse 5 of Psalms 96. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yah made the heavens, meaning all these other gods that we're serving here in America, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, Honduras, Argentina, Chile, Belize, you name that country. All the gods of these nations are idols. We just read it right here. Okay, so you take that cross off your neck, that church you're going to thinking that you're in the house of God. It's not the house of God. The Most High had two houses built. Mount Moriah, one by Solomon, one by Zerubbabel. And the third house will be on that very same spot, in that very same city, Zion, Jerusalem, city of David. That's why when we pray, we are to face that house. We're not to get on our knees and pray and face any direction. We're to face that house and make our supplication there. Because the Most High only had one house. I'll say it again. He doesn't have daggone 5,000 in America, 500 in Germany, 300 in the Ukraine, okay, 1,500 in Ecuador, 500 in China, 200 in Chile, 5 in the city you're in. I'm certain from where you sit, you can find 30 churches within a 10-mile radius of where you sit right now if you're at the House of Israel. We've got churches everywhere, okay? They're on every block, 3 and 4 of them. Yet we find no relief. Why? These are houses of idol worship. You're serving devils that are newly raised up, and they can be of no benefit to you. It's vanity. Okay? So let's read this again. Psalms 96. We will start at verse 4. For Yah is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all idols. Verse 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols. Let me repeat that. You're in one of the nations that you have been sent to. We've been scattered throughout all the nations of the earth. And it's being made clear here, all the gods of the nations are idols. So if you're serving one of them, you're incorrect. But Yah made the heavens, which meaning these other gods didn't make the heavens. They're newly raised up. Okay, these are idols. These are devils. All right, now, let's go to Psalms 97. Psalms 97, verse 7. Okay, I really wanted to make this an inside a 20-minute lesson just to kind of, keep it short. Something that way you can always, when you're too busy, you can just get a couple of minutes to learn something. Okay, let's go to Psalms 97, and we're going with verse 7. All right, give me 1 second. Psalms 97 and verse 7 reads, confounded, that means confused. Confounded be all they that serve graven images, that boast themselves of idols. Worship him, all ye gods. So, if you one of those run around boasting of this idol, telling people some idol died for your sins, no man can die for your sins. No man can save you. You save yourself by returning to this law. Okay, so if you're boasting yourself of some idol, okay, walk around with graven images on your neck, graven images in your houses, you're going to be confused. You're going to be confounded. The Most High will not put any illumination into you, because that idol is a stumbling block to you, and no knowledge will come your way. You will read this book and it will be like reading Chinese. You won't understand it because you have that idol in your heart, and therefore you will be running around in circles. You will be confused. Ezekiel chapter 14, read that. Okay, for those of you who have this idol in your heart, okay, you will be confounded. You'll be confused. You will have no understanding. You will have no wisdom. You will have no light. Okay, now let's go to Isaiah 45 verse 16. We're almost done. I'm trying to get this thing done in 20 minutes, but it may not be a 20-minute lesson. It might be a 30-minute lesson. All right, Isaiah 45, because I like to kind of explain what I'm reading instead of just reading it, because a lot of people will read it and still not have any understanding because they're in idolatry. Isaiah 45, all right, and we're going to start with verse 16. All right, Isaiah 45 verse 16, and it reads, they shall be ashamed and also confounded, confused, all of them. They shall go to confusion together that are makers of idols. Not only those that make the idols, those that believe and worship the idols. Okay, so all of you in all these nations, Israel as well as non-Israel, if you're making idols, worshiping idols, idols on your necks, idols in your house, going to these houses of idol worship, then you're all going to be confused together. You're all going to go into confusion, and you're going to be greatly ashamed. But the next verse here, verse 17 reads, but Israel shall be saved in Yah, with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. The Most High has a perpetual covenant with the house of Israel. Israel will always be upon the face of the earth. We live forever through our seed. So we will always be here, and we will dwell in the midst, the Most High will dwell in the midst of the house of Israel in Mount Zion. When that third temple is built, he will be dwelling in the midst of us forever. Not we dwelling with him in the sky. That's not what he says. That's not what his prophet says. The Most High says he's going to return to that third temple, and he will dwell in the midst of Israel on the earth forever. Okay? So Israel is going to be saved with an everlasting salvation. We will not be ashamed or confounded. Now let's get this straight. This is not all Israel. This is Israel that returned to this law. You return to this law, you won't be ashamed and you won't be confounded. And your seed will live forever. Your children, your children, your children's children, etc. They're going to survive. Your seed of those who are of the belief and the understanding of this law that follows it. So those who are following this law don't have to worry about being ashamed and don't have to worry about being confounded, being run around in circles because we don't understand anything. Okay, so this is specifically to those of Israel who will turn back from serving these idols. All right, for those of us who wake up, Ezekiel 37 chapter, the valley of dry bones. Okay, so we have to wake up out of this dry and parched place where there's no light. We've been operating in darkness. Okay, and the way to get out of this dark place and this affliction is to return to this law. And those of us who do, that's what verse 17 is talking about. It's not talking about everybody. It's not talking about all of Israel. It's speaking of those of Israel who will turn back and return to this law. All right. So we've covered Isaiah 45:17. Ezekiel 14th chapter. I told you to read it, but I really want to read it for you, so you can kind of get a feel for what's going on. For those of you who are in idolatry, let's go ahead and get a piece of Ezekiel chapter 14. Ezekiel speaking. Then came certain of the elders of Israel unto me and sat before me. And the word of Yah came unto me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their hearts, their gods of whatever nation they're in. They don't put that God in their heart thinking that that's a God. It's not a God. It's a devil. It's an idol. Okay? Verse 3 once again. Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their hearts and put the stumbling block of their iniquity before their face. Your biggest sin is idolatry, idol worship, false gods. It's a trap and a snare unto you. Okay? Should I be inquired of by them? The Most High says, hey, should I be answering and dealing with these idol worshippers? Okay? Therefore speak unto them and say thus unto them, or say unto them, Thus saith Yah, Most High speaking. Pay attention. Every man of the house of Israel, notice, when the Most High is speaking, he's always speaking directly to Israel. Every man of the house of Israel that setteth up his idols in his heart, idols. It's more than one. Here, in this country, you have Jesus as the number one idol. But as big an idol as he is, money is a bigger idol than that. Because if you told the man, hey, look, it's the Sabbath day, you can keep the Sabbath, you can go to work and make $1,000, he's not keeping the Sabbath. Because money is what drives this place. Money is what drives that man-made religion, Christianity. You have to understand that. So money is one of the idols of this nation. So there are more than one idol. They're idols. Okay, plural. All right, let's get back to verse 4. Therefore, speak unto them and say unto them, Thus saith Yah, every man of the house of Israel that setteth up his idols in his heart, and putteth the stumbling block of his iniquity before his face, and cometh to the prophets, I Yah will answer him that cometh according to the multitude of his idols. So depending how many idols you got and how tight your bands are made to them, that's how he's going to answer you, according to the multitude of your idols. And you know that answer is not going to be good. Okay, verse 5. We're still in Ezekiel 14. That I may take the house of Israel in their own heart. So the Most High searches your heart. If in your heart there's an idol, you're going to be cut off. Okay? Verse 5 once again. That I may take the house of Israel in their own heart, because they are all estranged from me. Estranged, separated from him. Through their idols. Through their false gods. These gods are vain imaginations, newly raised up idols, devils that your enemies have taught to you in all these lands that you have been scattered, and you bought this thing wholesale. You bought it wholesale. You didn't take the time to study it. Didn't take the time to discern who's serving the Most High and who's serving him not. And the only way you can discern this, you have to understand this law. You have to understand the protocols of the Most High. He has ways. He doesn't do things off the cuff. You have to understand that. All right. In closing, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We're at 26 minutes, 53 seconds. All right. In closing, I'll say this. The Most High, when speaking to the house of Israel, this book is written for us to remember. It's called the Book of Remembrance for a reason. If I got to remind you of something, obviously you forgot something. So the Most High did wipe our memories, and we could not remember who we were until it was that time for us to put his spirit back upon us. Now, we're asked to remember. You can't remember anything if someone is telling you something that's new. Okay? So that's why he remember when the Most High is speaking, and he says, remember the days of old. Remember the things of the past. Okay? Remember my covenants. When he tells us things, it's always to remember, to reflect, to look back. Okay? He never said, look to the future. Okay? Remember the things that's to come. Okay? At no time is he speaking of any idol. So we have to look back. Remember the covenants that he made. Remember the things that were instructed to Moshe. The things that he said in Egypt. The things that he did. We're to look back. We are to remember. We're to remember by using this book of remembrance. Okay? So everything the Most High is telling us is remember the days of old. Remember my covenants. Remember my Sabbaths. Remember my law. Remember. That's the word he's using a lot as he's addressing the house of Israel in modern times. That's why this book was written. So as we start to remember or try to, we have to reference the past. Okay? You can't remember by looking forward. That's not how it works. Okay, so we must remember, and we must go into the book of remembrance, and that's how we will determine who is serving the Most High and who is serving him not. We are to discern. We are to make a difference between the clean and the unclean, righteous and unrighteous. We are to know this, and you will not know this unless you understand this law. So, stop serving devils. Find out where Jerusalem is from your house. Okay? And that's the direction that you face and pray towards that house that was built unto the Most High. And stay away from these churches. Stop giving these people your money. Go feed the poor if that's what you choose to do. Okay? Stop serving these idols that are of no benefit to you. Okay? So we will finish this up. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Peace, Israel.